Eddie Hall used to eat over 10,000 calories per day in order to push his body weight to 200 kilograms. He set numerous lifting records, and he's expected to fight the Mountain from Game of Thrones later this year. He's also a professional strongman, but he's more than physically strong. He shows us the strength that it takes to battle mental health, and he offers the recipe for people to find their own way to inner peace. We're going to look at his life story, and then I'm going to give you my analysis on what makes him iconic. This is the iconic story of Eddie Hall.
Blood was already coming out. He's been holding his breath for a few seconds. Haven't quite locked it out. That's the moment he got his hips through. Referee stays down, put it down. It's a good lift, but no, enjoying the moment.
Just wouldn't let it go. Really enjoyed it. History being made then. Over 10,000 people. Really.
Edward Stephen Hall was born on January 15, 1988, in Newcastle-under-Lyme, Staffordshire. Growing up, he was a bit of a troublemaker, and along with his brothers, had symptoms of ADHD.
With children with these conditions is they think after they act. That's the biggest thing, and they say things before they think.
This resulted in behaviors that could be impulsive. He could struggle with change from the normal routine, and he could become very competitive when he gets in the zone. For Eddie, his normal routine became swimming, and he was obsessed. His high energy and hunger to win made him put in hours that any normal person would dread. In 2001, he was 13 years old, and he swam for his school, Clayton Hall Academy, and was a national swimming champion, looking to be Olympic bound. Despite his success, he questioned his parental support. However, he did look to one person for all of the assurance that he needed.
I mean, my nan, she looked after me no end when I was young. She inspired me a lot, you know. She would always talk to me about my dreams. She was always the one that was never negative. She was always my biggest supporter.
He did not have the picture-perfect life, but he did have all of what he needed. He had purpose to swim, to commit himself to becoming an Olympic athlete. And arguably most important, he had someone in his corner, his nan, the person who saw him for who he was and made him feel like he was not alone in the world. But the good times do not last forever.
I got chucked off the swimming squad. At the same time, I got expelled from school, and my nan was diagnosed with cancer, and this all happened within months.
Everything he worked for, his most precious support, all under attack.
When my swimming stopped, I went into this very deep depression.
The times were bleak, and there was no direction for him to go. No goal, nothing to put energy towards that mattered, and that needed to change. So to move forward, he began going to the gym, and he set a new goal, to become a bodybuilder like Arnold and fill the void. But the initial goal does not always stay the same. He soon realized that he had a gift for strength. He then clarified his overall goal and entered a strongman competition, and by 19 began to dream about the idea of being world's strongest man. In 2008, the 20-year-old Eddie was working as a mechanic. It was a bad day, and he was ready to go home. But he gets a phone call, and it's from the hospital. They say he needs to come immediately, so he rushes there, and the doctors take him aside. It's about his nan. They say she's going to die today. Eddie gets into the room and sees her.
2 minutes. She died. right in front of me.
The doctors take Eddie and his nan to a separate area where he can make peace. He goes on to talk to her for hours about his life, about what he wants to do with his life to reclaim it, make something of it, and to make her proud. He makes her a promise that he will be world's strongest man. 2 years later, an opportunity opened up. A competitor dropped out of England's strongest man, and Eddie could take his place. This would be his first major competition, and he goes on to win by half a point. He then goes on to get first place at the UK's Strongest Man in 2011, securing him a spot to compete in World's Strongest Man in 2012.
Well, when you're winning, you know, the feeling's great. So, I mean, thank you.
Over the years, he slowly increased his ranking at Worlds.
And look at Jenkins, wow. He's Ed Hall looking a little more human.
Where we are right now, and then 7:05 for the finals. Eddie Hall, the current leader, he got 4 in 36.65.
Yes, he's on sand. This is a brand new event, this discipline. And so everybody trying to win a cart or a railway wagon. Oh, and Hall struggles. He's not going to get a fourth. Shaman and the chest heaves.
But it was an expensive lifestyle, and his pockets were starting to run dry. He needed to do something to keep his dream alive. Otherwise, he would never be the world's strongest man and complete the promise to his nan. Hoping to make enough money to continue the investment into his dreams, he knew what he could do to fill a stadium. He would be the first person in history to pull half a ton, 500 kilograms. And on July 16th, Eddie Hall becomes the first man ever to lift half a ton on the deadlift. But it was risky, and the glory was short-lived. He was quickly met by paramedics. Even though he managed to make it financially, he suffered a heavy toll on his body from the half-ton deadlift. He was also suffering from other injuries, such as dislocated fingers. He goes on to compete in World's Strongest Man in August of 2016 and finishes third. It was his first ever podium placing, but it was not first. And he felt alone. He decided that he needed that title to make his nan proud because nothing else would suffice. He became obsessed with strongman to guarantee his win in 2017. Yet the long journey was starting to put strain on his life in all areas beyond his body and his pockets. It put strain on the relationship with his wife and family, and 5 weeks before World's Strongest Man in 2017, his relationship began to fall apart. His wife moves out. It made the loneliness become even lonelier. Just a month before he needs to bring the best performance that he has ever done in his entire life. In an act of desperation, he talks to her 3 weeks before the competition and says that he wants her back and will change if he wins. But if it takes another year to win, then he doesn't want to make her suffer with him and says that if she's going to leave him, that she should. His performance in 2017 at World's Strongest Man would be the difference between the life of his dreams and a living hell.
Seen the number to beat put up by Bjornsson moments ago, and now Eddie going after it again. He's tied him with his 14th.
And with that, Brent, Eddie Hall wins the Viking Press here in the final with an amazing fifth, powerful, choppy steps where he's
I want to win it. I'm going to smash it.
We'll see you out there. Good luck.
Thank you.
Fourth place in this event in order to be the champion.
After placing the 5th Atlas Stone, Eddie Hall looks up at the sky and thanks his nan because he did it. They hand him the trophy for the World's Strongest Man. But the reality sets in as euphoria fades because he realizes he's been absent for so long and doesn't know his kids because he was so obsessed with his goal. He had this high, but now it's back to normal life. But despite all of the pieces that are still left to be picked up, Eddie realized that mentally he was in a much better place than he had been in years.
Since the World's Strongest Man, depression, anxiety has disappeared, completely gone. And I questioned myself many times as to why and what's the reason for that.
And when Eddie looks back at his life to figure out how he deals with something that plagues so many people, he sums it up like this.
You do two things in life, and this is very relative to me and my mental health, is you either sink, you dwell, you blame the world, you blame everybody else for your problems, or you swim. You move forward, you set goals, you get out that hole, you stop blaming everybody, and you go and get what you want.
Eddie Hall is the story of a person who made big achievements despite facing challenges the entire time. But he gives us more than a story. He gives us some takeaways on his experience with the sink or swim as it applies to mental health.
You never know what opportunities will lay ahead. So work hard, set goals, and have hope.
But it can be hard to apply it to your life. So let's talk about his 3 main points and whether your mental health is managed or it's out of control. I want to give you something to contemplate so that you can build the skills necessary to deal with your individual situation. And it's always important to have these skills before you need them. And it can take time for you to find your own answers, but it's worth it to find that inner peace. So let's start with the first one. To set goals. Forward progress prevents backwards progress. Let's look at Eddie whenever his life came crashing down. If he stayed in his home and he stayed in that cycle, he would have seen the world around him not improving. It would have continued his stagnation. It would have continued his loss of motivation, and he would continue to build habits in this vicious cycle that he's starting to create. Dwelling is what he called it. It means that he was not going anywhere, so it only makes sense that his situation would stay the same. A lack of goals is oppressive because unintentional habits will form to perpetuate behaviors that keep you from going anywhere. So by setting a goal, you'll create intentional habits, and they'll perpetuate behaviors that are conducive to the life that you want to live. And most importantly, it'll keep you aware of yourself, and it'll make sure that you're not falling off track. It's easy to correct your behaviors in the beginning whenever you start to see the signs that you establish for yourself. And then you don't have to suffer the consequences later because you didn't see the problems adding up. And secondly, the value of hard work is common knowledge, but how do you really know if you're working hard? Let's look at Eddie. He was high energy. He needed to put his energy towards something. But whether you're high energy or low energy, you are always willing to give your best effort when you're motivated. And the secret to being self-motivated is to have something worth working towards. For Eddie, it started as being competitive in swimming, and it eventually developed into his promise to his Nan. He found a sense of importance in what he was doing, and it's his own personal reason that is keeping him motivated. And you can look in so many different places for short-lived motivation, but if you want something that sticks around, you can't look outside, you have to look within. And that leads us to our last point, to be hopeful. But it can be hard to just be hopeful and simply change your mind. Eddie did not start hopeful. Whenever his world came crashing down, that was probably the least hopeful that he had felt in a while. But the thing is, once he started making steps forward, he created that momentum to make it a lot easier to feel hopeful. Everything can feel impossible when you're sinking. But whenever you try to be hopeful, it can give you that motivation to want to even try in the first place. And then you'll start to build that mental momentum and hopefully get to taking that first step. That mental momentum is all about believing again, that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, that you can believe in yourself, and that you know that you are capable in making it there. Now keep in mind, it can be hard to do these things, just to set a goal, because you might not know how to do it or where to start. But think of it like this. It's time for the big truth. Alright, so let's bring it all together. Life becomes more secure when you acknowledge and fulfill your needs. Your goals are your strategy to fulfill your needs. Your needs are worth working hard for, and knowing that you're making progress to security in life makes it a lot easier to feel hopeful. Now, individual needs can vary, but I believe everybody needs these common 3. First, you need a sense of importance, something that aligns with your values and challenges you. Goals that challenge you will have you looking for small improvements along the way. And goals that align with your talents allow you to put your efforts into things that could actually produce results that really make you stand out and feel unique. Eddie Hall realized he was strong, so he focused on that, and he got the returns he was looking for. So whenever you're setting your goals, try to figure out what you could be best in the world at, and what you definitely couldn't be best in the world at. It'll really help give you some guidance along the way. And maybe you haven't found a sense of purpose in anything, but I would encourage you that your sense of purpose is going to come out of bettering yourself or bettering others and improving your community. And that can require you to go outside of your comfort zone and really go into the world to learn new things, to meet new people, and to discover more about the world and yourself along the way. Secondly, everyone has a health need. Physically, it seems like taking care of your body can be a low priority until you encounter disease, movement problems, pain, and then it really puts it in perspective how important the skills are for you to manage your physical health. By taking control early, it can pay off. And maybe you could even look like you're in shape along the way. And in regards to mental health, it's about finding the life that is worth living. Understanding who you are and what's worth doing, because what you put your efforts into will be hard no matter what you pick. And take the time to reflect on your needs, because that's going to be the only way that you know yourself. And then from there, you can make the right decisions to build that healthy lifestyle that you want. And finally, it's important to remember that no good life is lived alone. So relationships are the last need. They impact you emotionally, and emotions are directly tied to motivation. So if you're missing out on anything that really gives you a strong emotional response, you could be missing out on one of the greatest sources of motivation, because you need to do things that you take pride in, but you also need to take pride in doing things for those that you care about. And the people that you put yourself around create an environment, and you will always grow in response to that environment. So be selective, because this can happen for better or worse. Now, if you're someone who loves to go to the gym, it seems to be your only happy place. But whenever you have a rest day or you're away from the gym, you just feel incomplete. I would encourage you that you might want to work on other things outside of the gym, your home life. There might be inadequacies there that you can work on, because the gym is obviously giving you some sort of benefit. It is aligning with your needs, but there are other needs that could be unmet that you could work on. And you don't have to work on everything at once. It's probably best to work on one main thing at a time. Just don't neglect other needs that you may have. Remember why you're doing what you're doing every day. Now, with all that said, let's walk through the 3 steps that Eddie used whenever he found his worthy goal. This is what helped him work on his mental health. He committed. For him, that means going to the gym, getting that workout in, seeing himself as capable. Then he built a lifestyle. This is creating that gym routine, eating his meals, doing the recovery, the injury prevention, day after day, and not looking for just a perfect day or a perfect week. He was looking for perfect discipline. And whenever you're trying to form habits, keep these things in mind. Behaviorally, repeat actions become automatic, and a set of habits that you eventually form will be easily picked up later on in life. Cognitively, your habits are going to stick around more strongly if you place emphasis on them. You create importance out of them. It's the way that you think about them. Neurologically, get obsessed. Dopamine is responsible for addiction, so use that to your advantage. Get addicted to your goals. Become almost compulsive about making progress toward what matters most to you. And environmentally, use your surroundings to your advantage. If you want to make sure that you're not eating too much, remove foods that you shouldn't be eating from the house. If you want to stay on top of your goals, set up a whiteboard where you can see it, and then you will always stay consistently on top of what your goals are and the progress that you're making in them. And tell people about your goals. They can encourage you. Invite people in so that you can shine your brightest. And lastly, get excited. If you talk to any lifter, they will get absolutely hyped by just doing 5 more pounds on an exercise or doing an extra rep. Marginal improvements can be euphoric, and this is the secret to self-motivation. Whenever doing something hard and over a long period of time, it keeps you psyched up. And if you wanted to get to the gym this year, it's not too late for you to commit, to start building your lifestyle, to get excited about the person that you could be. And it doesn't have to be about the fitness. Maybe lifting can change your life the way it did for Eddie. For you to finally commit to the life you could live, to build that lifestyle towards a life of security, and to get excited each day about what you're building. And I'm not saying it'll be easy, but when life feels like it's drowning you, will you sink or swim? And that's for you to decide, so let me know if I got anything wrong in the comments below, or if you think I missed something. Share this with a friend who needs to think about their sink or swim. And don't forget to like and subscribe, because this is going to be a series where I analyze people and then I give you my take on what makes them iconic. And I hope this inspires you to start living your own iconic life, because I'd love to make a video on you one day. My name's Chase Bordy, reminding you that life is a game, so start winning. And I'll see y'all in the next one.